I was in rooms with 2 Latina billionaires and I got to meet them. So it's about learning and growing and getting help in community. Don't try to do this on your own. I believe that now we're having more conversations around money beyond the savings checking accounts, beyond CDs, beyond what's offered in community banks and moving into investments. So I see a direct shift in our community having conversations around money.
Think about the last time that you felt actually heard, that your voice, your message, your mission was so powerful that you drove and took home big contracts with big names like Microsoft, Google. Well, that's what we are going to talk about today with the guest that I'm bringing you on, because part of your financial independence is this very thing. This is the Brown Way to Money podcast, where women of color in business find their financial independence path. Because financial success is within our reach, but by playing by their rules, it is only going to take us halfway there. To succeed, we must take ownership of our voice with money. So, welcome to the Brown Way to Money podcast. But before we start, very quick, what an extra $500 will do for you or for your business this month? Well, maybe that is for payroll, to get that social media strategy, or to simply go and relax this month, take a massage, whatever it is. You could be the receiver of one of the micrograms we give here at the Brown Way to Money. If you want to have a chance to be the receiver of these micrograms, then pay attention to the secret word on this episode, and then go to brownwaytomoney.com and submit your application. Inevitably, financial independence for women of color is not just about the numbers, but it's about owning who we are, our voices as an entrepreneurs, as a women of color who are building something because it's their passion, because it's their mission. Can be difficult to step into that zone of, this is what I do, and this is my message, and this is how I'm becoming the person that you need to listen to, or how I became that person, right? In your story, how did you started and got to end up in rooms like Microsoft, Google, and all of these big companies as a Afro-Latina leading in the tech industry?
Well, it wasn't easy, and it's never easy. And I was always very ambitious. And so I think that really helped. But also I think, I just really wanted to ascend, and I think it's an internal sort of motivation, right? But it was not easy for me, right? It was challenging in many respects. And I think that was the thing that I wanted to talk about, that I saw that others, Latinas, or even just other leaders, were not talking about the hard truths in terms of growing your career, navigating your career in tech, negotiating, your pay, your compensation, how to do that strategically. What are the timelines to have those conversations so that you're ensuring that you're getting what you want? I wasn't seeing anyone have those kinds of tactical and strategic conversations. And I felt very lost, quite frankly. I had to figure a lot of things out on my own. And so I thought, okay, once I figure some things out, it's my obligation and my responsibility to share it with others. And so I decided I'm not going to gatekeep. I'm not going to share what I have learned and really talk about some of the hard things and some of the strategies that I learned. And then you also mentioned sort of building something yourself and on your own. And now that I've, written this book and I've done a TED Talk about the Latino state of wealth, and I talked about my money journey, and I talked about my immigrant, story, and there's a narrative around Latinos and immigrants. And it's like, no, we are like the pace setters. We are the consumers. We have the purchasing power. We are the business owners. We're doing all of these things at record
Yeah.
paces. And so I just thought it's my responsibility to just speak up. And so now that I'm stepping into being a speaker, an author, I have a consulting company where I do business strategy consulting with tech companies, building partner ecosystem. And so stepping out on your own and doing your own thing, which I know you are doing and so many, other women and women of color are doing, it's rewarding. And for me, I see it as what's the term? It's a response. It's a response. Latinas are building businesses and starting businesses at record pace. And it's a response of, hey, that is really challenging. I'm doing this on my own. I'm building my own thing. I'm creating my own wealth. And so, yeah, I'm part of that cohort.
I love so many things that I just heard. Starting from that inner motivation that you mentioned, that you were ambitious. And let's just stop there for a second, because that word, especially where I come from, being ambitious is not a good thing. Being ambitious is like a double thing, right? Like it has like the levels. If you are ambitious level millionaire, it's sort of okay. If you're ambitious level billionaire, it's like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you want to be that? So it's kind of like those words that it has power. And when we change the understanding and the mindset about the word, we see results like this. But I want to understand what exactly meant for you being ambitious in your career.
So I just wanted to make an impact. I just wanted to be successful. I wanted to make money. I wanted to have money, to travel and to live a life that I wanted to live. And, I always knew I will have money. I will be able to do the things that I want to do. And so there was an internal drive to do that. But Alejandra, I'll also say very early in my career, I mentioned my desire, my ambition to a leader. And that leader, a woman leader, was basically like, you're a bit too ambitious. You need to slow it down. It's this person's turn, the team lead. You're supporting this person.
Right.
And I thought, wow. And for a while, very early in my career, I tempered my ambition. That really impacted me. And I had to work through that to learn how to advocate for myself. It's a muscle that takes, at least for me, it took a while. So that was sort of like, you're here, right? You're driving. And so what that taught me is that I'm owning my ambition. And if someone is speaking nonsense to me, I'm not listening to that, right? I've got to navigate my career to find the people that really value, because ambition is good. It means that you want to lead teams. It means that you want to do incredible things in an organization. It means that you're a freaking hard worker, right? It means so many things. So I just wanted to share that, because one of the things that I talk about is, you have to really, you can't just share sort of the pearls and the golden things in your life with just anyone. And that was a lesson, for me. And, so yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that is again why I believe this part that not many people talks about and consider when you are growing as an entrepreneur, when you are growing as a woman of color towards financial independence, talks about, because that little things are the ones that sit you back, right? So somebody else calls your ambition as quote unquote too much, then it takes you back into thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't be that ambitious. When is that same thing what is gonna drive your career to, in your case, land up in being seen in the rooms and leading teams at such a big firms? So I always find it very interesting, and I think we talk about this when you were here in Amsterdam, how this ties to our history as women of color who were in the rooms but were not able to talk about what happened, right? And that fear and that trauma that we feel in our bodies when we are trying to stand for what we believe. And it's so easy for somebody else to come and just, you know what, that means nothing. Just move on from that, right? I'm curious to hear from your journey now as a thought leader on the industry, as a tech thought leader, as a person that understands the context of Afro-Latinos and Latinos and women in the United States when it comes to thinking and understanding money as a position of power, how that interacted with your identity, and how did you ended up saying, okay, this is what I understand about money, and this is how it fits in my life.
Our relationship with money, right? And our culture in our culture, the Latino culture is complex. It's very complex. Some of the messages that I know I've received living in a Latin American, household is, work hard and the money will come. It's tied to labor, right? It's tied to what you do. As a woman, Latina, talking about money is unfeminine. You're greedy if you speak about money, right? When I had to have a cultural cafecito with myself around a lot of concepts, not just about money, but just about my place in the world, what it means to be successful as a Latina, and really sort of shift my mind and my mindset around that. So for now, I believe money is a tool, right? To be used for the things that we want. And I know that I had to work through a lot of those sort of limiting beliefs around money. And in my case, I want my money to work for me. I don't necessarily want to work for my money, right? So that is for me, the place that I want to be and encourage others to be, right? And some is tied to what I do and others is not. And so that's the power of money that I've had to learn over time and that I speak on. And then I think the next concept is around self-worth and money. Not that your self-worth is tied to money, but it is tied to your ability to advocate for yourself and to demand us negotiate for what you know that you deserve. And there are some instances that you're going to have to walk away from the table, right? Because you're not being given what you deserve. And so you need to, stand up and move to another table, build your own table, create your own table, whatever the new term is. But there are moments that, and there are moments that I have to do that today when I'm being offered, things. It's like, that's great. And then the negotiation starts. But that I'm always reminded, it never ends, right? And it's never easy. I have to think about it. How am I going to approach this from a negotiation standpoint so that I am presenting what I'm worth and then I'm negotiating, right? If something comes to me, negotiating back what I'm worth and then the reasons why and the value that I'm bringing. And then monetize all of that. And it's such a position of power that I just love it.
I can feel the passion, first of all. So this is when the talk becomes tactical. Because before the tactics, it comes a mindset and understanding. And personally, I don't believe that we deserve money or we are worth an amount of money. I think it's an objective of living in the economy that we live. There is money there because you are selling and there is money there because you're buying, and that's how the system works. So I shouldn't be deserving of anything. It is the very first thing that the system gives you, which is money. But that is my personal belief, and that is what supports me to clear a lot of the financial trauma, because somewhere in the way we have bought out in this narrative that you gotta be worth it of the money that you are asking for. No, excuse me. I'm sorry. I don't have to be worth it. My worth as a person is endless.
Yes.
You couldn't pay anything for that because it is not part of the economy that we live. It is part of
Right.
my values as a person. But if you talk about the services or the products that I'm offering, those have a value that I have assigned. And from that perspective, we can start negotiating what is the price that you are going to pay for those values and services. So it's a different type
Yes.
of looking at the negotiation, but you cannot get to those tactical steps if you are wrapping in the narrative of being ambitious is bad, having a vision for yourself is not comfortable. Or I even love what you said that in our culture, sometimes money is seen as you're not feminine enough, like talking about it or even aspiring to have more than you have right now, it is not feminine enough. How deep is that in our culture? And not only, I can say it's not only Latinos, it is strong in our culture because being feminine, it's a high value thing in our culture, but I see it in many, many different cultures across. The bottom line is, as a woman, that you are tagged that you're not feminine enough because you are talking about money.
I
It's a
know.
hard thing.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
ridiculous.
subconsciously, that's a lot because your biology, your brain is there to be feminine because you will support the reproduction. That is the biology of it. So if you go to the most basic scientific understanding, it's like, well, I am not going to chase that because that is going to kill my chances of reproduction. And I'm here making a dialogue into how your brain cells are going to talk to each other. It's like, well, might as well avoid it or run from it or not understand about this. And no wonder why a lot of shame and guilt comes when you are actually starting to look into these topics.
Your secret word is grow.
I never thought about it from that perspective. And this is very biased because I grew up in a family where, yeah, people told me I was not feminine enough, but it was not because of money. It was because I was always hanging out with boys because I had two big brothers that I had to really push and hit because they were so like, oh my God, they were all over me all the time. And I had to learn how to fight them. It was for
Great. I
many other
love it.
reasons, right? So I was used to that. So when I talked about money, and also my parents are accountants, we talked about money. But when I talked about money, that wasn't the reason why I wasn't feminine. It was all other reasons, but that you brought it into the space really opens up a new understanding of, is that the very first thing that we need to get used to? Knowing what money means for us and then capitalize on what we find. And this is a rhetorical question because I know it is, but I'm just putting it out there. And this leads me to the next question or the next piece of thing that I want us to explore, which is the understanding of the different quote unquote ambitions or the different stages of where you want to be with your money as you grow in your career, in your space. Because when you were studying, you wanted to be this thought leader. And then you ended up in being a leader for Microsoft team, for Google team, for different companies. And then what? So once your ambition and your mission is there, then what else happens? And what are some of those tactical steps that you had to take to continue that ambitious mindset growing?
I think, well, I want to answer that, but I do want to go back to our Latinidad and our thoughts around money. Because what's really fascinating for me is normally, right, our mothers, our grandmothers, they ran the household, the financial management of the household. They were responsible for the purse strings. So there's this sort of dichotomy of don't talk about money. Somehow it's bad. Yet we're driving economies, we're making decisions for the household, and the complexity of both of that and the confusion that comes, from that. So I think our histories are very, it can be very confusing and all of that. I consider my mother the best financial planner on the planet. That woman turned pennies into dollars.
Right.
Anyone who would listen to me I would tell them that. And so that to me is fascinating. The other thing that I would say about, Latinidad and money is I believe it's shifting. I believe that now we're having more conversations around money, and we're becoming learners around, beyond the savings checking accounts, beyond that, beyond CDs, beyond what's offered in community banks, and moving into investments and all of that. So I see a direct shift in our community having conversations around money. And there are organizations, like the Latino Donor Collective, who are a think tank, who are really doing the studies to talk about, our place in the economies of the world. And so Latinos becoming homeowners, investing in stocks, the wealth gap is actually closing for Latinos. And so all of those things, all those data points, I think are an indicator, a leading indicator that we are having conversations around money that are making an impact. So thank you for allowing me to say that, because you said a lot of great things, and I just wanted to just respond to, all of that.
Yes.
The thing with ambition, now it's shifting for me around money, right? It's, I just spent the day on Monday volunteering at an elementary school, and those students, a bilingual class in an underserved community. And that was my first Spanish interview with these fourth graders. So fun. So fun. They created a podcast, El Show de los Minis. It was adorable. I mean, it was just incredible. And now because of that, their teacher just, cause I posted it, and, the teacher was a good friend of mine. She said, now these 30 children who are Latinos from all over, Latin America, Spanish speakers, that's their first language. They now all want to write a book. They struggle with writing. Writing in English is something that they have to work on diligently, because Spanish is their first language. But now, because they saw a Latina who, is an author, now my ambition is not necessarily for me, for my family, and it's always been for the community. Believe me, I've been on boards and have given to the community. I've started a scholarship for Latinas at Rutgers University. I care about my community, and I have served my community my entire life, but it is a bit different now. And doing those things and, writing this book and, coaching Latina leaders who are moving up in their organization and all of those things, the ambition is different, but the money part, I continue to be a learner of money. I was just at, organization called Angeles Investors last week. And, I am looking at angel investing. So I am learning. So the journey continues around different ways to, continue to build wealth, generational wealth, et cetera. So the ambition doesn't stop. It just evolves. For me, it evolves. It's changed. So I'm having a whole lot of fun.
I love how, first of all, I love that you inspire these kids, because I think more like the younger they are, the easier it is to really infuse the love for books, the love for writing, which is something that may be jeopardized by the technology, by just going into a laptop and all this stuff. So I love that. But also something that you mentioned makes me, and I want to hear your thoughts, makes me think about wisdom, how you just change with your experiences, how you move through the world with the experiences, is the way that you move through the world of money, is the same way that you move through the world of success, is the same way that you move through the world of entrepreneurship. It doesn't mean that the ambition that you have today, you have to have it for the rest of your life, right? It means that as long as you understand what that ambition means to you, you can pursue that. And that is what I am hearing from you, which is something that not many people say. Many people was like, well, you should be ambitious to get on top of your career. But what happens after that? Once you get into the top of, it's like every single time you are chasing the top of your career. But what after the top of your career is that like life ended? So like what happens there? So it's the first time I hear it, and I'm very, very sorry. I like how it sounded. I like that it just shifts the way that you are understanding your position and your experiences with even with kids now. So I want to close asking you, from what you wrote in your book, what are some of those tactical steps that you believe Latinas in general, but every woman should know about so that they get to where they want to be with their career and with their financial journey faster?
That's a tough question because there's so much tactically, but I will leave you with this. And I had to learn this over time. One thing is that be in community, learn in community, join organizations that are, number one, talking about money. Like I told you about Angeles Investors. Be in those rooms. Be in the rooms where, I was at the Latino Donor Collective event, and I was in rooms with 2 Latina billionaires, and I got to meet them. So it's about learning and growing and getting help in community. Don't try to do this on your own. Do not, right?
Yeah.
I have this term that, your hype squad is your life squad, right? The people that you are connected with who are helping you in your career and in life, those are the people that will help you and propel you. And so don't do it alone. Be in community, find other organizations, many organizations, so that you are getting the help in your career, both tactically and strategically. And you're learning from other people who have been there. And then you take all of that collective knowledge and then you help yourself propel your career. But don't try to do this thing called life and career alone. And so much more fun when you do it in community. So that's what I would leave you.
One of the things that I really, really wish that more people do is to give me a summary of the amazing conversations that they're having. And because I wish that I had that, then I'm doing it for you. So if you want to go back to those tips and tricks that we talked with Julissa throughout this episode, you will find a downloadable PDF that I have made for you where I put all of the important highlights of this conversation that you can use, and you have it there for you to reread it, share it with somebody, do whatever is more beneficial for you, along with the links to follow Julissa and her journey. If you go to latinamadrina.com, you're going to find all of her socials, her book, and the wisdom that she shared with us today. Okay. Did you hear something that you liked in today's episode? If so, don't keep it to yourself. Go ahead right now. Yes, right now, before this episode ends, and send this episode to those 3 friends, 3 girlfriends that you can go to talk about finance, independence, money, business growth, entrepreneur life, and all of these juicy topics. Share this episode with them because that is the only way we can grow together. I'm Alejandra Rojas, your host, and I will see you next week.